Welcome to the Cowbell Kingdom Road Reaction post-game show where the Sacramento Kings dropped their six straight by a final of 126 to 101. But there is a story inside of a story inside of a story in this game. Klay Thompson, one of the Splash Brothers, goes nuts. Nuts. Holy cow. Klay Thompson, 37 points in the third quarter, an NBA record. Absolutely on fire, goes 13 of 13 from the field, 9 of 9 from behind the arc, and at one point it just got silly. He just started throwing things up with one hand. I was waiting for him to flip something from behind his back. It was just wild, Rui. Very, very few times have I ever seen someone truly in the zone. Tonight we got to see something special out of Klay Thompson. What are your thoughts, Mr. Rui Thomas?
Well, first, from the Kings' perspective, it was the lowest point in the season. It was a spectacular NBA performance, but the Kings just bottomed out tonight. As far as Klay, I mean, that was just a shooting exhibition. I mean, I guess you can go perfect for 12 minutes of a game and, taking 9 threes, right, not miss. I mean, we saw it was history in the making right there. I mean, it didn't, after he kept making, tough three after tough three, we just assumed he was going to miss, but he just never did. He did miss his first shot in the fourth quarter, which broke his streak, but it was unbelievable. And it was sad that it just had to come at the expense of the Kings.
Well, I mean, come on now. The guy goes for 52 points. It was a performance, like an epic performance. It didn't matter who was on the floor. You're going to get killed in this game. When a guy catches fire like that, there literally is nothing you can do. All you can do is sit back and watch and say, my goodness, that's incredible. I mean, the Kings tried a few different looks on Klay Thompson, but literally he pulled up at one point and he started dropping in 30-footers. I mean, 30-footers after, he's like waving, he's calling for a screen and reaching up and just dropping in a 30-footer. You're like, what in the world is going on? It's one of those games where, again, I don't think anything matters. You just sit back and you say, holy cow, that was something special. It was fun to watch. Did the Kings lose the game? Heck yeah, they lost the game. But the fact is, before Klay Thompson erupted, the Kings actually had the lead at 64-63 in the third. They were hanging tough. It was one of those games where you're like, okay, well, what's going to happen here? I'm not quite sure. DeMarcus Cousins had it rolling, 28 points, 11 rebounds, 3 steals. Rudy Gay, I'm not quite sure what happened here, but Rudy Gay played 13 minutes, scored 0 points. He had 4 rebounds and 3 rebounds and 4 assists, but he also had 2 technical fouls, which at the end become completely inconsequential in a 25-point loss. But he got tossed from this game so early. Rui, what did you see in the Rudy Gay meltdown tonight?
He checked out at the right time, clearly, so he doesn't get blamed for giving up any of those baskets. I mean, this game was Rudy Gay's worst in his Kings career, 0 for 5, 0 points. Arguably the worst game in his NBA career. The same night, Klay Thompson has the best game of his career, which kind of symbolizes direction that both franchises are going as well. Rudy Gay lost his temper in the first quarter, and then, the Kings' offense, as you were saying, witnessing that NBA record, their offense just dissolved. I mean, I think their focus just went completely into trying to stop Klay, but I mean, clearly there's nothing they could do.
To me, it didn't feel like the Sacramento Kings tried to stop Klay. I would have called a couple of timeouts and tried to cool the dude. I would have fouled him hard. I would have done something different. To be honest with you, you just can't let a guy drop 37 points on you, but that is who the Sacramento Kings team is. They're a team that is completely lost at this point. They have lost 6 in a row. Sometimes you just got to tip your hat to somebody for having a great game. I think there clearly could have been some other moves to sort of shake this thing up. Again, maybe Rudy Gay could have been the difference in this. Maybe he could have been a guy who somehow defended Klay Thompson and made it tougher for him with that 7'3" wingspan. So, but some interesting stats, some interesting developments in this game as well. Darren Collison finishes with 15 points, 4 assists, 6 rebounds, 3 steals. He was actually quite productive in this game, and he did a very nice job of shutting down a superstar in Steph Curry. So you did have that, which is nice to talk about. Quincy Miller, who was playing with the Reno Bighorns just last week, he came up and he got to see like Bighorns basketball, right? He got to see no defense, throw all caution to the wind, chuck up a bunch of three-pointers that either do or do not go in for the Kings tonight, only for 17 from behind the arc. But Quincy Miller had 13 points, 6 rebounds, but he also added 2 blocks and 2 steals. To be honest with you, Tyrone Corbin started Derek Williams in this game, and I'm not quite sure why. I think he's going to claim matchup. But to be honest with you, Derek Williams hasn't done anything of late. And at this point, throw all caution to the wind. Give Quincy Miller some looks. At least the guy plays defense. At least the guy can block shots. He's intriguing. He is intriguing. He really looks like Dante Green to me on the court. But I say give him a shot. He goes 6 of 7 from the free throw line. That tells you he's being aggressive. He got to play, a decent amount of time tonight. He played, look at that, 34 minutes for Quincy Miller. I guess if you're going to go run and gun, 2 things. Number 1, don't do it against Golden State Warriors. It's just dumb. If that was your game plan to get in a track meet with the best sprinters in the world, then you shouldn't be coaching in the NBA, because that plan of attack was just absolutely foolish. And the Kings push the tempo as much as anybody. But let's get back to the positives. Again, one other positive that sticks out is Nick Stauskas. He drops 11 points in, grabs 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 or 5 from the field, 1 of 1 from behind the arc, which is an improvement over what we've seen again from him lately. But Stauskas had 2 takes to the hole that were absolutely sick, Rui. What did you think of Stauskas, the crossover, roll to the rack, do some crazy things in the air moves?
Well, it was nice to see Stauskas do that on the professional stage. He looked very poised tonight. Maybe he was taking advantage of everyone else's attention, pointing in another direction. But yeah, his shot looks good. He was setting up teammates really well too. He threw a nice lob to Ryan Hollins near the end of the game for a dunk. One of his best games as a pro. And as far as Miller goes, looks like a really good fit on this team. He started the second half for Gay, and I mean the Dante Green comparisons are very eerie, because you're right. I mean they're so spot on, same number, super athletic, and
body style, yeah.
He can run and he can shoot. So the question is, what's going on in his head? Like, how's his decision making going to pan out over the next few days? Because I can't remember exactly when his 10-day contract expires, but he surely must have it extended.
Yeah, I would assume that Quincy Miller will get a second 10-day contract, maybe even a contract for the rest of the season, with Eric Moreland being down. But then again, the Kings may reserve a roster spot here because we do have the trade deadline right in front of us, and sometimes you want to have some flexibility there. I certainly think that he's earned a second opportunity here, and I wouldn't mind seeing a lot more of him down the stretch. I know he can do a lot of different things. He's very versatile, and he's just one of those guys that didn't quite figure it out and needed a little bit more maturing, and he seems to have gotten it. So let's get to our 3 keys to the game. Your first key is a 48-minute effort. I think the Kings played about 28 minutes tonight, and then they watched something special happen for the remainder of the time. I mean, for about an 8-minute stretch, this literally became, Klay Thompson doing something of epic proportion. I mean, I tweeted out he had gone plaid, a reference to Spaceballs, the movie. He was just unstoppable. There's nothing you could do. So how many minutes do you think the Sacramento Kings played tonight, Rui?
Well, they did play near the end of the fourth quarter when the second unit was in. I thought those guys, were playing focused. Right from the start, the Kings were up 6-4 in the first few minutes, and they allowed the Warriors to go on a 16-0 run. I mean, that was some of the sloppiest basketball we've seen all season because the Warriors were dominating the boards and just having their way on offense while the Kings were just turning the ball over. But then, second quarter when we saw the Kings climb back, I mean, mostly that was just the Warriors shooting themselves in the foot because they were turning the ball over as well, and they missed. They went 1 for 9 behind the arc in the second quarter, and almost all of those attempts were wide open looks. So the Warriors allowed the Kings to get back in this game, and then that third quarter, I mean, that wasn't really much. I mean, I don't know what to call that. Just right watching Klay Thompson basketball. So
A Travishama mockery. That's what that was. A Travishama mockery.
okay, I'm gonna look that up. But yeah, maybe 6 minutes. Those fourth quarter minutes.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do there to stop Klay Thompson. I mean, we just can keep saying it. I mean, the dude could have thrown something up while diving out of bounds on the other end of the court, flipped it over his head, and it would have gone in 80 feet away. So let's get to our second key of the game, and the Golden State Warriors. Not only are they the most entertaining, fast-paced, spectacular offensive team in the league, but they also are a very good defensive team, holding teams to 42% shooting on the season. Tonight, the Kings shoot just 41.5%. I'm going to put some of that in the bucket of, this game was over early. The Kings had no chance coming into the fourth quarter. Again, they can't hit the broadside of the barn from outside. You go 4 of 17 from behind the arc. If this is the style of play that you would like to play, I'm just going to make a suggestion to anyone who might be listening. If you're going to play fast-paced basketball and do these crazy things that the Kings are trying to do, go get yourself a Steph Curry, a Klay Thompson, a Draymond Green, somebody who can hit a three consistently, because the Kings just don't have that guy on the roster, and it's really tough to open up the rest of the floor. Again, you get held to 41.5% shooting tonight. It's because you can't hit from the outside. And when you can't hit from the outside, it's really difficult to play an inside-out game. And the Kings just don't have the pieces in place to make a run here. And, there are a couple of people that we can blame for that, but mostly it's because this is a style of basketball that you would like to play when, you don't have the players to do it. So you can't play Golden State Warriors basketball with the 1993 Knicks roster. You just can't do it, and now we're seeing it play out in a six-game losing streak. I think Tyrone Corbin is now 5-14 in his stint as the head coach of the Kings. So let's get to our third key. I'm just going to skip over you, Rui, on that one, and I'm going to go to you on the third key. Transition. How did the Kings do in transition tonight against the high-flying, crazy, frenetic-paced Golden State Warriors?
Non-existent, really. The Kings weren't really fighting through screens, and clearly the Warriors got open look after open look. I mean, it was just a three-point party. The Splash Brothers. Well, actually, I have to give Darren Collison credit because he did, completely eliminate Stephen Curry. But they threw Ben McLemore, Ray McCallum, on Klay Thompson. They didn't know what to do. The Kings got owned in transition. I mean, there was a point at halftime when the Kings were actually up 10-8 fast break points, but again, had the Warriors hit one of those wide open threes, the Kings would have been down in fast break points, so they got wiped out on that end.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like, never going to land war in China. You don't do. There are certain things in life you don't do.
Hmm.
You don't do silly things like get in a fast-paced shootout with the Golden State Warriors, because you open the door for something magical to happen, which is what happened. All right, let's get to our MVP of the game, and I'm going to go with Derek Williams. Wait, no, I'm not going with Derek Williams. I'm going with Klay Thompson. Magical night for Klay Thompson. Rui, we've already said it enough. Klay Thompson, Klay Thompson, Klay Thompson. I feel like Aaron Brewski on the Cowbell Kingdom podcast talking about Isaiah Thomas. But no, I'm talking about Klay Thompson. Who is your MVP, Mr. Rui Thomas?
I'm going to be the hipster who doesn't go with the mainstream here and
I'm
go
just
to
going to
market.
hang up on you if you don't say Klay Thompson.
Jason Thompson? No. Yeah. I mean, Klay Thompson was the MVP, but if we hand out the trophies like we do for Little League, I want to give DeMarcus Cousins one because he was really assertive today. There was an incredible basket he made where he took a shot from the left side of the hoop, caught his own miss underneath the backboard, somehow managed to flip it in for an and one play. It was incredible. He finishes with 28 points, 10 for 11 free throws, 9 for 19 from the field, 11 rebounds, 3 steals, 5 turnovers, which is actually an improvement over his recent games. And he without DeMarcus, it would have been like that 76ers Mavericks game from earlier in the season when the Sixers were trailing by 50 something points.
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't. I mean, I guess you can look at the numbers that DeMarcus Cousins put up. And I'll say this too: DeMarcus Cousins historically has had an issue with Andrew Bogut, and tonight he just owned Bogut. I mean, Bogut is he he struggles with those guys that don't leave their feet. That's the guy that DeMarcus Cousins is always struggled with, and we see it time and time again. Even Brook Lopez the other night against the Nets. Brook Lopez, a ground-based guy, a guy who literally looks like he can't jump over, like, I don't even want to say a phone book at this time. Like, I don't think he could jump over like a Mad magazine at this point in his career, and he's still relatively young. It's ugly to watch, but those are the guys that DeMarcus Cousins doesn't play well against because he can't get them to leave their feet and to make silly decisions when they're playing defense on him in the post. He usually owns the shot blockers. He just bullies them, throws them all over the floor, and the big guys, the big slow-moving guys, even Nurkic, Pekovic. I mean, you just keep looking at these guys that are like immovable forces. Sullinger, Jared Sullinger. Again, these are the guys that he struggles with. And tonight, it was good to see him get off against a guy that historically he has struggled with in the past. So, Rui, what else you got for me? You got any final thoughts here?
Well, looking ahead at the road trip, the Kings have New York next on Monday, followed by Toronto, Cleveland, and Indiana. I mean, all those teams have issues of some sort. So, this is a chance for the Kings to, get some momentum going, but we've said that a few times already this year.
Wow, you're going to the momentum card. Yeah, I don't see it. This team is in a tailspin. I think I mean, to lose to the Knicks on Monday would be probably the lowest of the low. I mean, I think the last game out was the lowest of the low. Tonight you got hit with something special. And so the unexpected, those things happen. Again, I don't think anyone thought the Sacramento Kings were going to come into this game and win. And if you did, I hope you put a lot of money on it because, well, you would have lost your money. So, but just so you could prove to me that you actually believe the Kings were going to win. So I don't know. You're right. The Kings, you have an opportunity here to get back in to the win column, but it's going to be tough. So I guess the one bright spot is that DeMarcus Cousins has a very good shot of making the All-Star game no matter what. And the good thing is that if he does make the All-Star team, Mr. Rui Thomas and I will be in New York to cover that for you. So that should be fun. So I guess, Rui, that's going to do it for this edition of the Cowbell Kingdom Road Reaction Postgame Show. The Sacramento Kings, man, they got smacked. They got smacked hard, 126-101, which was expected. The way they got smacked was unexpected. Hat tip to Klay Thompson for a career night and one of the more impressive moments of basketball, 8 to 10 minutes of basketball that I think anyone has ever seen. That third quarter will go down as probably the greatest quarter in NBA history. It is as of right now, but man, that's going to be tough to beat. 13 of 13. That's like throwing a perfect game and striking out 20. And just what a spectacular night for Klay Thompson. So I am James Ham. Mr. Rui Thomas has been joining me tonight. Say goodnight now, Rui.
Good night.
Good night. And that's going to do it for this edition of the Road Reaction Postgame Show. We'll be back on Monday. Have a good night.